Hello, my friends. We've all met that one person, the one who walks into a room and everything just shifts. Not because they're the loudest, not because they demand attention, but because they carry something, an energy, a presence, a quiet, undeniable certainty in who they are. That's confidence. It's not arrogance. It's not showmanship. It's the unshakable belief that you belong, that you have value, that you don't need to prove your worth to anyone. And that belief, it's intoxicating. It lingers in people's minds long after you've left the room. It's what makes them think about you, wonder about you, crave more of your presence. Confidence is the secret ingredient that turns an ordinary interaction into a lasting imprint. The thing about confidence is that it's felt more than it's seen. It's not in the clothes you wear or the way you style your hair. It's in the way you hold yourself, the way you speak, the way you carry your own existence like it matters. It's in how you take up space without apologizing for it. It's in the way you don't rush to fill silences because you're comfortable in them. It's in the way you don't shrink yourself to make others comfortable. And when you exude that kind of self-assuredness, people can't help but notice. They don't always know why they're drawn to you. They just are. Because confidence is like gravity, it pulls people in. But here's the raw truth. Confidence isn't something you're just born with. It's something you build. It's something you cultivate brick by brick through experiences, through setbacks, through learning to trust yourself even when everything feels uncertain. It's in the moments when you choose to stand tall, even when doubt creeps in. It's in the way you remind yourself again and again that your worth isn't dictated by outside validation. It's knowing that rejection doesn't define you, that failure isn't fatal, that you as you are enough. And that belief, that unwavering trust in yourself, it's what makes people think about you long after you're gone, because people don't remember perfection, they remember presence. Confidence is also about the energy you bring into a room. People will forget what you wore. They'll forget the exact words you said, but they will never forget how you made them feel. When you walk into a space with the kind of quiet self-assurance that says, I belong here, you give others permission to believe it too. You make them curious. You make them lean in. You make them wonder what it is about you that feels different, intriguing, magnetic. And that curiosity, it's the beginning of someone thinking about you non-stop. Because when you carry yourself with certainty, you don't have to chase anyone's attention. It naturally gravitates toward you. What's even more powerful is that confidence doesn't demand, it attracts. It doesn't beg for love, for validation, for a place in someone's mind. It simply is. It's the quiet force that makes people wonder about you, respect you, desire to be in your presence. It's not about being the loudest person in the room or proving how great you are. It's about knowing you are enough, whether or not anyone is watching. And when you truly embody that, you become unforgettable. Because confidence isn't just a trait, it's a feeling that stays with people. It's the thing that makes them replay moments with you in their mind, questioning why they can't quite shake the memory of your presence. At the end of the day, confidence isn't about impressing them. It's about owning you. It's about walking through life with the kind of self-assuredness that makes people stop and take notice. It's about being so deeply rooted in your own worth that whether someone thinks about you or not doesn't shake your foundation. And that's the paradox. When you no longer need to be remembered, you are. Because confidence isn't loud, it isn't desperate, and it isn't performative. It's steady, it's magnetic, it's unforgettable. And when you carry yourself with that kind of energy, trust me, he won't just think about you, he won't be able to stop. There is something undeniably captivating about the things we don't fully understand. Think about it. The most intriguing books, the most addictive TV shows, the most compelling people all have one thing in common. They leave you wanting more. They don't give everything away at once. They don't reveal every detail, every thought, every intention immediately. Instead, they let you wonder. They allow space for curiosity to grow. And curiosity, it's the foundation of obsession. When you leave room for someone to think about you, to wonder about you, to question what makes you tick, you occupy their mind far more than if you simply handed over every piece of yourself on a silver platter. Mystery doesn't mean being distant or playing mind games. It's about having layers. It's about allowing someone to discover you rather than dumping everything about yourself all at once. It's human nature to be drawn to the unknown, to want to solve the puzzle, to crave understanding of what isn't immediately obvious. When someone feels like there is more to you than what they can immediately see, they keep coming back. They keep wondering. They keep thinking. And when someone is thinking about you, they are investing in you, even if they don't realize it. The people we can't stop thinking about aren't always the ones who are the most available, the most predictable, or the most obvious. They're the ones who made us curious. Think about how attraction works. It's not just about looks or words. It's about energy. When you meet someone who doesn't feel the need to overshare, who doesn't desperately seek validation, who isn't always available at the snap of a finger, you start to wonder, where are they? What are they thinking? What's going on in their world? That tiny seed of curiosity plants itself in the mind, and before you know it, they're thinking about you without even meaning to. This isn't manipulation. It's the natural way human attraction works. The moment we feel like we have someone completely figured out, the mystery fades, and often, so does the intrigue. Mystery is also about presence. It's about being fully engaged in the moment, but not giving everything away. It's in the way you carry yourself, the way you listen more than you speak, the way you answer questions in a way that invites further conversation instead of shutting it down. It's in the way you allow someone to get to know you without forcing them to. When you are confident enough to let things unfold naturally instead of rushing to prove your worth, you become intriguing. You become the person they want to understand, the one they keep replaying in their mind, trying to connect the dots. Because people don't chase what is handed to them on a silver platter. They chase what feels just out of reach. And let's not forget the most powerful element of mystery, not always being available. Scarcity creates value. It always has, and it always will. If you answer every text the second it's sent, if you rearrange your life to accommodate someone else's schedule, if you're always within arm's reach, you lose the pull that keeps you on someone's mind. This doesn't mean ignoring or playing games. It means having your own life, your own priorities, your own moments of unavailability. When someone knows they can't have all of you whenever they want, they start to want you even more. They begin to anticipate your presence, to miss you, to think about when they'll see you next. And that's where desire is born. At the heart of it, mystery isn't about withholding. It's about revealing yourself in layers. It's about knowing that you are worth the slow unravel, that your story isn't meant to be read in a single sitting. It's about trusting that the right person wants to get to know you and letting them earn the privilege of understanding you more deeply. Because the most unforgettable people, the ones who stay in our minds long after they've left the room, are the ones who made us wonder. And wonder, that's the first step to obsession. We live in a world that glorifies perfection. Flawless social media pictures, carefully curated lives, airbrushed relationships. It's everywhere. And yet, despite all of this, perfection never truly holds our attention for long. Why? Because it doesn't feel. It doesn't stir us, move us, or connect us in any meaningful way. What does? Emotional connection. The ability to see and be seen in a way that is real, raw, and unfiltered. The people we think about the most, the ones who leave an imprint on our minds and hearts, are never the ones who seemed perfect. They are the ones who made us feel something. They are the ones who let us in, who let their guard down, who allowed us to witness their truth, not just their highlight reel. The truth is, perfection is intimidating, but authenticity is irresistible. When someone is too polished, too rehearsed, too together, it creates distance. It makes people feel like they are standing on the outside looking in, like they can admire but never truly connect. But when you allow someone to see your real thoughts, your unfiltered laughter, your moments of vulnerability, you create a bridge. You make space for real intimacy, the kind that lingers in someone's mind long after you've left. Because human beings don't fall in love with flawlessness. They fall in love with familiarity, with moments that make them feel understood, with the kind of comfort that can only come from authenticity. Think about the people who have truly stayed with you, not just in passing moments, but in deep, lasting ways. Were they the ones who always said the perfect thing, who never made a mistake, who looked like they had it all figured out? Or were they the ones who shared their fears with you, who admitted when they were struggling, who made you feel like it was okay to be human? The most unforgettable connections aren't built on perfection, they're built on relatability. When you are real, when you are open, when you are brave enough to say, "This is me," without the filters, you give someone permission to do the same. And that kind of connection, it's unforgettable. Emotional connection isn't just about deep conversations. It's about presence. It's about making someone feel seen, truly seen, in a way that most people never take the time to do. It's in the way you listen, the way you remember the small details, the way you notice the things that others overlook. It's in the way you don't just hear someone's words, but understand the meaning beneath them. That kind of connection stays with people. It's the kind of energy that makes them think about you in quiet moments, when they're driving home alone, when they hear a song that reminds them of a conversation you once had. It's not about impressing someone, it's about impacting them. What makes emotional connection even more powerful than perfection is that it cannot be faked. You can pretend to be perfect, but you cannot pretend to care. You cannot fake real laughter or genuine interest or the kind of presence that makes someone feel like they matter. And in a world where so many interactions are surface level, where so much of what we consume is curated and artificial, authenticity stands out. It becomes a magnet. It draws people in, not because it is flashy, but because it is real. When you allow someone to see the depth of who you are, not just the polished version, you become someone they cannot forget. At the end of the day, people may admire perfection, but they connect with realness. They may be entertained by perfection, but they remember vulnerability. They may be temporarily impressed by someone who seems to have it all together, but they stay for the person who makes them feel safe, understood, alive. So stop chasing perfection. Stop trying to be what you think will impress them. Instead, be the person who makes them feel. Because emotions are the glue of memory. And when you create an emotional connection, you don't just occupy someone's thoughts, you take up space in their heart. And that is how you become unforgettable. There is nothing more captivating than someone who is deeply, unapologetically invested in their own life. Think about the people who stand out in a room, the ones who don't seek attention, yet somehow command it. They aren't desperate for validation. They aren't waiting for someone to give them purpose. And they certainly aren't shaping their existence around another person's approval. Instead, they are fully engaged in their own journey. They are pursuing their passions, chasing their dreams, building something meaningful for themselves. And that is magnetic. When you are so immersed in your own growth, happiness, and fulfillment, people don't just notice, you become unforgettable. The reality is, attraction isn't just about physical beauty or witty conversation. It's about energy. People are drawn to excitement, to passion, to those who radiate a sense of purpose. When you have something in your life that excites you, whether it's your career, your hobbies, your personal growth, it shows. It's in the way you speak, the way you carry yourself, the way you light up when you talk about the things that set your soul on fire. And that enthusiasm, that drive, it's contagious. People naturally gravitate toward those who are genuinely excited about life because that kind of energy is rare. Most people are waiting for someone else to give them a reason to feel alive. But when you are the source of your own joy, you become someone they can't stop thinking about. What makes this even more powerful is that it shifts the dynamic completely. Instead of being someone who chases attention, you become the person who attracts it effortlessly. Why? Because people are wired to want what feels just out of reach. The moment you center your life around someone else, the moment you make them your sole source of happiness, you lose the very thing that made you interesting in the first place, your individuality. But when you have a full, thriving life outside of any relationship, you create an air of mystery, of excitement, of independence. You become someone they want to be around, not because you need them, but because your presence adds to their world. And that's powerful. This doesn't mean playing hard to get. It doesn't mean pretending to be busy or acting uninterested. It means genuinely filling your life with things that matter to you, regardless of who is or isn't watching. It means investing in your personal growth, setting goals for yourself, diving into your passions, and prioritizing your own happiness. Not because it makes you more attractive to someone else, but because it makes you more fulfilled. The irony, of course, is that when you do this for yourself, you naturally become the person who captivates others, because people don't think about the ones who are always available, always waiting, always bending over backward to please them. They think about the ones who are busy living, the ones who have their own fire, their own magic, their own sense of purpose. And let's be real, confidence comes from having something in your life that is yours, a passion, a purpose, a direction. When your world doesn't revolve around someone else's attention, you move differently. You exude a quiet kind of security, the kind that doesn't need constant reassurance. And that kind of confidence, it's unforgettable. People want to be around someone who is self-assured, someone who isn't looking for validation at every turn, someone who is already whole. Because when you are whole on your own, you're not asking, how can I make them think about me? You're asking, do they even deserve a place in my life? And that shift in energy, it changes everything. At the end of the day, the most powerful thing you can do to make someone think about you is to build a life so rich, so fulfilling, so exciting that they can't help but want to be part of it. Be the person who has stories to tell, who has dreams to chase, who walks into a room with purpose and passion, not because you're trying to impress anyone, but because you deserve to live a life that excites you. And when you do that, when you make yourself the main character in your own story, trust me, they won't just think about you, they'll wish they were part of your world. There's a reason why the rarest diamonds, the hardest to get tickets, and the most exclusive invitations hold so much power. They aren't easily available. Scarcity creates value not just in economics, but in human relationships as well. When something is always within reach, always accessible, always ready at a moment's notice, it's easy to take for granted. But the moment something becomes scarce, the moment access is limited, interest spikes. This isn't about playing games or manipulating attention. It's about understanding a fundamental truth. When you make yourself too available, you dilute your own worth. When you hold space for yourself, when you set boundaries, when you show that your time and energy are valuable, people respect it. And more than that, they desire it. Think about the things in life that have held the most meaning for you. Were they the ones you got without effort or the ones you had to work for? The truth is, we value what we earn. The same applies to human connection. When you are constantly available, responding immediately, dropping everything for someone at a moment's notice, you unknowingly send a message: my time is not that important. And when someone perceives that, they don't have to put in effort. They don't have to think about you, wonder about you, or miss you because you're always there. But when you create just a little distance, when you establish that your life doesn't revolve around their presence, something shifts. Suddenly, they start noticing your absence. They start wondering what you're doing, who you're with, why you're not always at their beck and call. And that's when you become unforgettable. Scarcity isn't about being distant or cold. It's about having your own life. It's about being a person with passions, commitments, and priorities that don't get thrown aside the moment someone gives you attention. It means not over-explaining yourself when you're unavailable, not feeling guilty for taking time for yourself, not rearranging your schedule just to accommodate someone else. When you have a full life, when you're busy chasing dreams, building something meaningful, pouring into your own growth, you become naturally scarce. And that scarcity, it makes people crave your presence because suddenly your attention is something to be earned, not something that's handed out freely. The people who leave the strongest impressions are not the ones who are always there. They are the ones whose presence meant something. They are the ones who, when they showed up, brought energy, depth, and meaning into a space. But they weren't always there because they had lives of their own. That's what makes an encounter with them feel special. That's what makes people think about them long after they've left. You don't have to disappear or ignore people to create this effect. All you have to do is value your own time as much as you expect others to value it. And when you do that, you shift the entire dynamic. Scarcity is also about emotional availability. If you give too much of yourself too soon, if you reveal everything, if you offer all your affection without any effort required in return, people can feel overwhelmed. They might not even realize it, but they stop working for your energy. They stop putting in effort because they don't need to. You've already given them everything. But when you hold back just a little, when you allow things to unfold at a natural pace, when you make someone earn deeper access to you, they cherish it more, they respect it, they crave it. It's human nature to want what isn't immediately accessible. The key is to make sure that when you do give your time, attention, and love, it's meaningful. At the core of it all, scarcity isn't about playing hard to get. It's about being worth the effort. It's about valuing yourself so deeply that you don't hand your energy out to just anyone. It's about making sure that when someone gets access to your world, they appreciate it because they know it's not something that comes easily. And that is what makes you unforgettable. When you hold your own value, when you don't overextend yourself, when you allow space for people to miss you, they won't just think about you. They won't be able to stop. There is something undeniably powerful about a challenge. It awakens curiosity, ignites motivation, and makes people invested in ways they never expected. This is true in all aspects of life, whether it's solving a puzzle, achieving a difficult goal, or understanding a person who isn't immediately predictable. The human mind is wired to be intrigued by what isn't easily attained. If something requires effort, if it presents an obstacle that must be overcome, it naturally becomes more valuable. The same principle applies to attraction and relationships. When you are someone who isn't immediately figured out, when you have depth, standards, and expectations that aren't easily met, you become memorable. You become someone who sparks interest, not just in fleeting moments, but in a way that lingers. Being a challenge doesn't mean playing games or being difficult for the sake of it. It means knowing your worth and not settling for less. It means having opinions, standing by your values, and not bending over backward just to make someone like you. It's about having depth, layers of experiences, thoughts, and passions that aren't immediately accessible to just anyone. When people have to work to understand you, to earn your time, to truly connect with you, they become more engaged in the process. It's human nature. When something is given freely, it's often taken for granted. But when something requires effort, when it demands attention and presence, it becomes a source of fascination. Think about the moments in your life that have held the most meaning. Were they the ones that required no effort, or were they the ones that made you push beyond your comfort zone, that made you question, that made you grow? The truth is, people don't become attached to what comes too easily. They become attached to what challenges them. The same applies to attraction. When you are someone who holds your own, who doesn't just say yes to everything, who requires thought and effort from those who want to be in your life, you naturally draw people in. You become an experience, not just an option.